And with that, we are now about to begin with our next panel discussion. And this is going to be another very interesting session because South Mumbai is home to some of the richest HMNIs in the country who have substantial chunk of their portfolio invested in real estate. Now, even the average Sobo resident has a definite appetite for investing in real estate apart from his primary home. The reason for investing outside South Mumbai could be pure investment with view of appreciation, or it could also be the end use of a property as a second home. Now, whatever be the reason, the sales figures from across various emerging investment destinations show that money is being pumped outside to some of the choicest locations, and this is an upcoming trend that we are all witnessing. Now, this upcoming trend to the developers from outside Mumbai is what the focus of this session would be, because this session will deal with a discussion on preferred choice of South Mumbaikars on investing outside Mumbai. It promises to be an eye-opener for realtors as well as investors. Ladies and gentlemen, may I first invite on stage our panel host, Mr. Jimmy Mistry, to please come on stage once again. Mr. Jimmy Mistry from Della Resorts and Villas. Welcome, sir, again. And may I please invite Mr. Rohit Chugani, Director, Falco Developers, to please join Mr. Jimmy Mistry. May I further request Mr. Tushar Sanklecha, Director, Sanklecha Builders, to please join our speakers on the dais. Our next speaker is Mr. Tarun Seksaria, Director, Veda Realty. May I further request Mr. Shailesh Puranik, Managing Director, Puranik Builders Private Limited, to please come on stage. And our final speaker is Mr. Rishikesh Manjrekar, Executive Director, Amar Builders.
It's not the best time of the day to have this session, huh? Almost. Okay. Have you got it changed? Absolutely. Okay. So we are talking of attracting investments as opportunities outside South Bombay, and how does the real estate fraternity see it, and what can we do to channelize our energies and be the catalyst so that this investment opportunity can also be catapulted by the real estate fraternity. Let me start off by trying to understand the mindset of the investor segment, the primary home and the secondary home, and in both these categories, what section of the pyramid are we targeting as developers across? Let me start by asking Rohit. Rohit, what is it that you, since you're a new generation organization, what part of the segment are you looking to attract in terms of investment? And what do you think is the maturity of the segment?
See, basically we are, in terms of a catchment for investors who want to buy an apartment, we're looking at a 15 lakh to a 40 lakh segment. And the way we've designed our product is basically that a 3 BHK also costs you somewhere in the range of 35-40 lakhs. We preferred Kalyan as a location because it has a lot of, there's an end user catchment there, unlike in certain other destinations where you need to attract fresh people to come in and kind of make it a first home for themselves. In terms of investors per se, we've had a lot of people looking at a gestation period of about 1 year to 3 years in terms of an exit, who are looking at a pure investment. And the returns are also significantly high because the cost escalation itself is going to drive the prices pretty steep here.
Tushar, what is your take on it? Do you sense that the investments will be coming in only in the primary segment or the secondary segment as well?
Jimmy, we generally work in Nasik and Pune market, and we have seen as the segment in the Kalyan market is like between 15 to 40 lakhs. This segment, if we look at it from a different perspective, this segment has a potential to grow. So that's the reason it is very attractive for the investor to park their money at the launch of the project. So both in the primary as well as secondary market, I think in both the market, this product will yield good returns always. This is what my take is on the entire thing.
Tarun, you are doing up the development in Alibag, and that's one area of one segment that is very dear to my heart, that's second homes. What is your take on driving South Mumbai investments across into Alibag? And what do you think are the various price points that Alibag market is matured enough to absorb?
Jimmy, Alibag, the let's handle the first point. I think the sheer proximity to Bombay, being 29 months of the year, you're 20 to 45 minutes away from South Bombay by boat. The sheer proximity is the main reason why people want to go there. A second weekend market. Today Bombay life has become so stressful. People want to get out of Bombay. So I think another reason till a few years ago, you had Lonavala, Pauna, Khandala, which was an option. So I think Alibag has thrown up a weekend option, weekend getaway option for Bombayites. Price points, I think today, we're looking at, apartments starting from 20-25 lakhs, going all the way to super luxury villas, which would run into a few crores. So I think the spectrum is wide. There's a market for your middle income, all the way up to your super rich who want to. So it's a new market. It's a new destination. It's an upcoming destination. So that's what's most interesting. Probably if you enter today, you'll be entering right at the starting point, and you probably have the entire upside, over a long period of time to probably then go ahead with.
Sailesh, Pune has been an investment opportunity for Mumbaikars for almost generations now. Initially, Pune started off with second homes for Mumbaikars and then primary houses, and now Pune itself has its own captive primary housing and secondary housing. You have been in this industry for quite a long time. What is your take on it?
Well, Jimmy, I agree with you. Pune has been the destination for investing. There's a lot of linkages between Mumbai and Pune. In fact, I feel shortly, in a span of a decade, Mumbai, Pune will and can become one big metropolis. What we have been seeing, because if you see at the entry of expressway or even beyond, you have developments happening. And at the end of expressway or even before that, there are a lot of development happening. And of course, Lonavala is developing in great way, I recently launched something in Lonavala, where we are getting fantastic response. So I think this, not only Pune, but this entire belt of, say, MMR and Pune. Why I'm saying is, there was a survey also conducted by Knight Frank, also by JLL, which are talking about what are the upcoming investment destinations across India. And top 3 spots are Thane, New Bombay, and Pune. So this is the kind of investment that these destinations are attracting, and they will be attracting such kind of investments in future, because it is not only the primary market, not only the captive market in Thane or Pune, where we have IT going, education happening, manufacturing happening, a lot of industry coming up. There's a lot of second home buying, which people from South Mumbai or western suburbs or central suburbs are buying in Thane as well as Pune. And besides that, of course, the captive market and investment. So I think all these reasons put together, these are the investment destinations of present and future. Of course, South Mumbai will stay South Mumbai, but the center is shifting, and it's shifting very fast. It's because of these centers that are coming up, the center of city is shifting. Now we have BKC, they are planning something like that in between Thane and Kalyan, which is the new BKC. So this is how the center keeps on shifting, and you get more and more investment opportunities and more avenues of growth. Thank you.
Rishikesh, how much is... Feel free. How much is your focus within Pune segment to attract investors from Mumbai and South Mumbai in particular? That's a topic of discussion. However, second question is, out of the total investment coming into Pune, what in your experience is the percentage of investment coming in to Pune even now from Mumbai?
According to me, I'll answer the second question first and then the first one. According to me, the percentage of investment coming in Pune and real estate today should be approximately 20%. This is also particularly because they are all entering at the project start point of view. And mainly because most investors who are coming from Bombay to Pune is to reduce their risk. Because any market, be it Pune, Nasik or Thane, what it offers is a very stable growth in the 3, 4, 5-year horizon. There will not be South Bombay like doubling overnight, but there will be definitely a stable growth. And that's why that number is always been 20%. One of the things that is a very attractive number for Bombay investors in Pune is the absorption rate. What I said, even
Pune delivers approximately 56,000 homes annually. Sold, 56,000 homes are sold annually, and 65,000 homes are delivered. That's around 85% absorption. So any investor who's putting his money today in a launch stage in any project, after 3 years, he is pretty much guaranteed to have a buyer ready for him. As far as the first question, are you asking me what my exposure is for investments? So we typically are into the higher segment. So your bracket of 5 crores to 10 crores in large format homes. So our investor base is typically between 10 to 15% again, who are looking at it as a second home.
Rohit, a lot of developments are coming up in Kalyan. They're mushrooming left, right, and center. The focus has been New Bombay, Thane, now Kalyan, Karjat. Lonavala has always been there. How would you be kind of leading from the front as a new generation enterprise and a developer to make sure that the investments are attracted by your project vis-a-vis your competitors?
Differentiation is the key today. Even though we are doing a product which everybody is doing in the market, we are basically providing the high-end specs over there, and we're giving people there the amenities of the stretcher elevators, the Italian market, which as somebody said earlier, that South Bombay was there earlier. We're giving taller fittings, and so people over there are also aspirational. Everybody there wants to increase their standard of living, and then that's where you start differentiating yourself as a developer, basically.
Sure. Nasik has been an investment opportunity for Mumbaikars for a long time. What did you contribute a single reason why Nasik is not taken off the way it was portrayed at one point in time and it was supposed to take off as an investment opportunity for Mumbaikars, and the other areas and small towns have come up and have mushroomed and demand far higher price points compared to Nasik?
I personally think the only reason why Nasik could not grow to that level in this specific period, apart from now it's going on really nice, the only problem was the connectivity, the air connectivity. We tried to get a lot of IT companies there, a couple of companies already has set up their base in Nasik. The only thing that stopped the growth in 2008 and 2009 in Nasik was the connectivity. Now, if you see, predominantly Nasik was always known as a pilgrimage city. Now, from a pilgrimage city, it has grown up to and next educational hub after Pune. It has the agriculture is superb. It's known as wine capital of India. Industries, if you see, there are around 2,200 small and big industries. Indiabulls is doing around 2,600 acres of SEZ in Sinnar, which is just 20 kilometers away from Nasik. So, if you see, the entire growth cycle has started. If you compare Pune in 2005 and 6, I feel Nasik is now in the same league in 2013 and 14. So this is the time when Nasik will take a leap once the airport is inaugurated, probably in the month of December. So this is the right time to put your money into the city where, as I told earlier also, this city has a potential of growth, but a stable and proper growth, not an overnight dream which comes true. So this is how I feel the connectivity was the only factor, but now it's solved almost.
Tarun, Alibag has been touted as an elitist investment opportunity because traditionally in the last 2 decades and 3 decades, I remember at the beginning of my career starting with doing up villas there in Nandgaon and Revas. But now, even today, Alibag still remains as a upper price point investment opportunity. With your kind of development coming in, which is on the mass segment for the first time across in that area and region, how are you positioning yourself? Are you still attracting only the top of the pyramid, or are you still looking at focusing on the middle segment as well?
You know what? The way we look at it is that, like what you said in the beginning, that Alibag as a second home destination, you know, it's always for the elitists, because let's put it this way: when you think about a weekend home, what comes to your mind? It's a villa, you know, with a garden, etc., which is expensive and which is meant probably only for the reach of the elitists. But I think with the economy growing, you know, the way we have in the last 10 years, the middle class growing the way they have been in the last 10 years, aspirations have grown. And there was a research being done that, you know, what is the most important thing that these people would want today? And the number one thing on the list was a second home. So I think from that point of view, you see probably going forward in Alibag, the number of the projects with apartments coming up will be a lot more than villa apartments coming up.
Sailesh, Thane has seen some fantastic development in the recent past, and perhaps in the last 4 years, it's really skyrocketed across. The competition is killing. At such point in time, how do you differentiate your product when everybody is talking of honesty, quality, customer service, customer satisfaction? How does your organization kind of stand out from the crowd, shout the loudest, and make sure you attract the maximum attention of the real estate fraternity who are looking for investments in Thane?
Jimmy, that is a $1 million question I think you have asked me. But I think that is the most important thing today, with developers coming up at every nook and corner, mushrooming across gullies and across roads. How do you differentiate? I think trust, quality, all these are hygiene now. You know, these are given. Like swimming pool in a project, in Thane is given. What do you go and give beyond? I think innovation is the key there. How you innovate? How do you give a product which is better not only in quality, in specs, but some of the other aspects and features which customer has not thought about? How do you give a customer which customer will appreciate, will like in value, it will give him better value for money at a price point which is reasonable to him, or maybe a little beyond that? Innovation plays a major role. I'll give you a small example. We started this concept of Balinese landscape style architecture in Ruma Bali in Thane. My own advertising agency said, what is Bali? People don't know about Bali. Why you are thinking of providing this? But we, persevered. We did that campaign, and now we have been getting such a fantastic response. We just put a mail to Council General of Indonesia that we intend to do something like this, and we had an architect from Bali who was designing. They were so excited. They came down, they inaugurated my project. And I had commissioner and collector calling me and asking, what is this happening in Thane? Please come and explain me. So I think I'm just wanting to give a small example. So this is how innovation will play a major role. And that will go a long way in product differentiation. Because, as somebody was talking about Italian marble and all, people are treating that as hygiene. So we have to go beyond. And how you innovate, how do you ideate, how you launch product with newer concepts, but the concept which appeal to end user and give him value for money. That is going to be the key. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Rishikesh, Pune is suffering, and not only Pune, a lot of cities in India have suffered from the syndrome of traditional developers perishing and new age developers emerging. And Pune is one place in the country that has really seen this happen across very, very solidly. How do you see placing your organization and your product so that you remain for the future and you don't perish, and you still compete with Atul Charodiyas of the world across within Pune?
So, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of developers coming up and coming up like this, like we said as well. I think Redeye Pune has approximately 80 developers registered in Pune itself, and Pune is a small city, so even it's a big number. What sets any developer apart is obviously its track record, something they deliver, something they intend to deliver in the future, and also how you innovate. Exactly what you said is with each project, with each new project you're launching, you have to come up with something new. I think one of the days where you're just taking 2 days international spa, which is only for its residents. We don't have any outside people coming and using it. And it's fully operated by the O2 Spa, which also runs the airport spas as well. So it's things like that which add that edge, and I believe it's what adds value to your project and helps to sustain the cutthroat competition. But having said that, I also think that Pune has also always remained a very tightly controlled Pune developer market. No one from outside has ever been able to penetrate the market. Very few developers, I think, have entered Pune market. Also, I think Bombay developers will not be able to work in Pune because of the margins being very unattractive to them. So that's a good thing for us, I assume. And I guess that hopefully answers the question.
I think, in my opinion, Pune developers, two cities have been leading the development segment with innovative solutions and products. A lot of things are happening across the country, but Pune definitely takes at number 1 and number 2 position would be Bangalore to launch products, and they've been before the Bombay developers. Bombay developers have been enjoying the luxury of a high price point, but Pune had to struggle with it. Now the final product deliverance and rollout they're doing is far faster, far superior to what some of the developers do it in Bombay. I think most of the sessions we've not had the time for Q&A. This is a session where we are talking of investments rolling out of South Mumbai and into either primary houses or secondary houses. I would like to address any answers that would be asked by the people sitting here across to all of us on the stage. Can we just have some microphones rotating around?
Yes, Shailesh bhai, this is for Thana. Thana is very dear to our heart. Now today the prices of Thana is close to 7,000 to 10,000, and if you go to Hinandani, close to 15 also. Now from here, if I want to invest, where is the price going to be there in Thana?
First, the prices are not from 7 to 12; they are from 7 to 20,000. Yeah, some parts of Thane enjoy very high prices in last year or so. But you are right. Where do we go from here? If you look back 10 years, the prices in last 10 to 12 years in Thane have appreciated by almost 8 to 10 times. And this is, proven by surveys by JLL and Knight Frank. Going further, they have predicted in next 3 to 5 years, the prices not only will double, but give returns in excess of 150% also going further. That's what survey tells us. That's what demand supply dynamics tell us. Our projects and some of our developer projects have been attracting a lot of customers from western suburbs in Thane. That is also driving the market because it has become attractive for a price point. I'll give you a small example. If a 1 crore flat in Thane will give you a much better value in terms of the kind of internal and external amenities that you're getting.
Any more questions? I'm sure somebody must be interested in talking about second homes. Okay, sure.
See, there are a lot of value housing is coming up. Say around, I have read somewhere that there are around 20 million flats are coming in a low housing, say around 11 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs. Then what is the status of these kind of houses? Because people are now behind the value housing. Low housing, you can say, where the affordable housing.
I would say that's a more realistic approach. India with its population definitely has a housing crunch. No matter what kind of deliverance we do, city by city, the ratios are different. But when a developer is in the EWS segment or lower middle income segment, you cannot go wrong with that segment because your price point is already pegged. Your profitability is already calculated. You're not playing the big tickets across, but there is going to be a genuine demand. And this is not an artificial surge of investors, but these are end users who are going to buy these. I'm sure if any of my colleagues would like to add something to that.
Kind of demand is there. Even then the prices are going to go up or like that it will be stagnant for so many years like that. That is my question.
I think it would be very subjective city by city. Let me give you an example of Indore. Indore, the pricing went up, went up, went up from price points of 1200, 1400, 1600, 1800, 2000, 2200, went up to 2900 and rolled back. Now the same 2200 has come back to 16 and 1800. Like I said, the margins are so narrow. There is a gross oversupply within the city. So it is very subjective city by city, but he also gave example of Thana, and you're having examples of Karjat, you're having examples of Alibag, you're having examples of what's happening in Lonavla, you're having examples of Panchkula, Chandigarh, and the areas we are only looking at western side of the segment, but across the country, the lowest segment is also appreciating at a much better pace than some of the middle place segment. So it's an interesting case study to compare the middle segment and the EWS and the price rise in these two sectors. And a lot of people across the country within the real estate segment are making huge amounts of money in this bandwidth. And same is the case of NCR and outskirts of Noida across. So this segment is a very interesting segment to play with. Yes, one would definitely hope and pray that the laws governing the development within this segment are more stringent, and that will come up with a whole generation of housing, which is something to look forward to for the country, an emerging nation like India. Otherwise, you will have almost what is happening within the redevelopment segment within the city of Bombay. So you do not want to have shoddy housing being given to the country if the law can govern it better. Any more questions? Yeah, sure.
Hello, everybody. My question, since we have an august group of builders here, especially some of you who come from cities like Pune, Nasik, and perhaps even Bombay, we see that we have great buildings, townships coming up, but unfortunately the infrastructure, perhaps even in front of that flat that you buy, the access roads are so poor. So you may have a luxury flat, but when you have to enter it, it's terrible. So what do you as builders do? How proactive are you with your local BMCs to actually do something where you all partner together to improve the infrastructure around? I mean, what is it that you can practically do? Let's put it this way.
I think any good reputed developer is going to not be looking at his development internal, but it's going to be external as well as internal. Without that, he can't sustain and survive within the industry for time to come. So that's my take on it, but I'm sure my colleagues will have their bits to add.
Both Thane locations where I have seen, and I'm part of the association also, at Thane or at Pune, developers do come together, associations, partners with the local municipal corporations, and develop a lot of areas. Of course, it is difficult to control what happens beyond your compound wall, but a lot of infrastructure activities which are happening in your area are driven by the developers. They partner with the local administration. For example, suppose a project is located at a remote location, 2-3 developers do come together and build the entire road. We do have some such examples in Lonavla. We do have such examples in Pune or even in Thane also. So developers do come together and try to build the infrastructure around, not only road, but light or water, because MSEB, when they are giving you a transformer or a substation, they need a larger space. Probably 2-3 developers share that space and then also share the other charges like SLC and so many host of other charges. They are really expensive. Developments which are coming up in Nerar or Karjat, water is a big issue. But there are rivers and you can lay pipes with necessary permissions. And of course, with new environment guidelines also, you have to have basic infrastructure in place. And you cannot depend only on the government for you to provide that. So yes, developers are doing that because I think that is what is hygiene. Unless we do that, customer is not going to come to you and customer is not going to come to you in big numbers, or you will not get the appreciation that what you want.
I guess that was the last question. I'm being continuously warned. The time is over. Okay, the last one. Between both of you, decide who wants to ask.
Tarun happened to mention it, that one of the dreams which people have is second home, and this is directed towards the second home market. What do Jimmy and Tarun, you envisage the market 3 to 5 years down the line for second home, and which are the upcoming destinations apart from Lonavla and Alibag for the customers?
We'll make it very quick. I think there's a huge potential to explore this segment. And the segment is quite wide. When you say second homes is a generic statement, it's bottom of the pyramid, the middle segment and the top segment. Bottom of the pyramid, it can be anything from 25 lakhs to 50 lakhs. And you are having up to a crore. And from that point onwards, the pyramid starts getting narrower. And you have very few developments within the segment of 2.5 crores to 5 crores. That's a very, very niche segment. Also the buyer, it's a very, very niche segment. It's an educated buyer. It's a buyer who's already having a primary house, who has disposable income. So it's not a compulsion for him to buy a house the way it would be in Bandra or somewhere else. So this is a very, very interesting segment to play with. And there is a huge vacuum as a national player. That's my take on it, but I'm sure my colleagues can add their bit.
No, I think he's answered most of your points, but I think the most important point is that it is a second home. You know, it is an interesting market, but it is ultimately a second home. And I think demand and money at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. We look at, like a year ago, things were fine. I mean, things were all right. But look at the last 3 months, the sentiment in general has gone down. So what people who we've been talking to, I mean, till a year ago, they were happy, they were looking, but if I go back to the same people today, they would probably think twice. Because I think it's sentiment also with sentiment and money. I think those are the biggest drivers. But having said that, it's a new market and there's tremendous scope for growth.
Which are the areas apart from Alibag and Lonavala, if you could throw some light on that?
I think one of the main drivers is, when you look at a weekend market, is the distance from Bombay. So let's say the reason we picked Alibag is, weekend 1.5, 2 hours by car, 45 minutes by boat. You can easily go, spend the weekend, go on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday evening, come back. So I think it's the infrastructure, getting there, these kind of factors that also play. So when we looked at destinations, we tried to narrow down to destinations 1.5 to 2.5 hours, motorable distance from Bombay, not even by car, is what we did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, just a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, could we have a round of
This-
applause for all our panel members? Yes, sir, we have a
I'm
we have a
sorry, I just
suggestion.
need to share one point. Regarding this, what are the upcoming destination? I would like to detail it out into 2 different things. One is the holiday destination of the second home that we are talking about, and the second home that you're taking in the cities which are getting developed in the future. So where you can do your business as well as it can be your second home as well. So there are different cities. I'm from Nasik. We are promoting Nasik to a great scale. And distance from Mumbai is just 2.5. If you sit in a car from Dadar, it is just 2.5 hours it takes from Dadar to reach to Nasik. So this is one destination that I can talk about. And to answer the question which you raised regarding the municipality and local government, what we generally do is, along with the CREDAI that our organization is, we are also part of Citizens Forum, wherein we work hand in hand with the local bodies, and we give them ideas, we give them design, we get the urban design done completely, as we did for the Goda Park, which is Godavari River, bank of Godavari River. We did the complete urban planning. From Citizens Forum, we asked municipality to actually get it developed through a corporate. And the best part is, Reliance Foundation bidded for that, and they have bagged this entire stretch of 54 acres that they are developing on the lines of Clarke of Singapore or maybe some other good cities. So that is how the development is happening now. So this is how we are working hand in hand. Yeah. Nasik, yeah.
All right, there, ladies and gentlemen, and it's now time to present a memento as a token of gratitude to all our panel members. May I please request Mr. Pradeep Shetty to please come on stage and present a memento to Mr. Jimmy Mistry. Let's have a round of applause there for our panel host, Mr. Jimmy Mistry. May I invite Mr. Dhiren Shah to please come on stage and present a memento to Mr. Rishikesh Manjrekar. May I further request Mr. Jay Shah to present a memento to Mr. Rohit Chugani. May I further request Manish Rambia to present the memento to Mr. Tushar Sanklecha. May I invite Mr. Amit Gala to come on stage and present a memento to Mr. Tarun Seksaria. And may I invite Zareer Engineer to please come on stage and present a memento to Mr. Shailesh Puranik. And with that, I'd like to thank our panel members once again. Thank you very much. Now it's time for the Kodak moment for all our panel members. Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 6 sessions, some fabulous deliberations, eminent speakers, and most importantly, some fantastic takeaways for all of us at the Smart Convention 2013. This is a time where we'd like to take the opportunity to thank some of the most fantastic people and organizations who have supported us and contributed towards bringing together this mammoth of an event, the Smart Convention 2013.